Good morning, and thank you everyone for joining us for our Subcontractor You Are Super Important webinar brought to you by Harris County Precinct 2, Adrian Garcia, Commissioner. I'm Julie Irvin Hartman, co-founder of B2G Victory.
I'm Susan Repka, co-founder of B2G Victory.
And we'll be joined by Jose Medrano, who is the Budget, Purchasing, and Technology Director with Harris County Precinct 2. We are so excited to be here today and so excited to talk about opportunities within Precinct 2 and how you, as a subcontractor, can capitalize on those and grow your business by doing opportunities with Harris County as well as Precinct 2. And Susan and I love talking about opportunities because that's money, and opportunities are relationships and money. So we're going to spend 90 minutes today going through this interactive session. So the more that you contribute to today's session, the more you're going to gain. Susan and I are going to tag team.
And speaking of tag team, I'm heading over to the chat. I'll be back
shortly. Sounds great. So our three favorite letters out of the whole word and opportunity are you. And each and every one of you, by taking your first step into the commitment of you, your business, and Precinct 2 will totally benefit from this seminar. So we'd like to congratulate each and every one of you as well. And if you have questions, put them in the chat, raise your hand, and there'll be various points within the program that we're going to do some polling. We're going to have opportunities for you to ask questions. And joined with us today is Jose Medrano, who, like I said, is the Budget, Purchasing, and Technology Director for Precinct 2. Here's Jose's contact information. Susan's going to be putting that in the chat. And Jose's going to tell you a little bit more about Precinct 2's Business Together program.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm trying to turn my camera on so you guys can see me. Susan, I think you need to give me permission for that. Can you hear me, Susan?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm working on it. You should be set up. Something's acting funny.
Okay.
Here we go. Promote to panelist.
All right. Sorry about that, everyone.
No problem. Well, as you get that going, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what this is all about. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jose Medrano, and I'm the Harris County Precinct 2 Director of Budget, Purchasing, and IT in Commissioner Garcia's office. We hope you find this class to be useful to you and your business. Commissioner Garcia is adamant about helping small businesses gain the tools necessary to compete and bid for opportunities to do business with the county. The Business Together monthly vendor outreach program intends to do just that. Julie and Susan will guide you through a series of monthly webinars to help you grow your business and gain the knowledge to successfully understand the Harris County procurement process. I know it can seem overwhelming at times, but you can count on their insight to help you understand how it all works. And they're really going to break it down into pieces, so it just doesn't seem like a 200 or 300 page RFP, and you can really just focus on what's important, so that you can see if it's an opportunity that you want to go after. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you to Commissioner Garcia for starting this initiative with the county. We encourage you to schedule a vendor meeting outreach, the Precinct 2 vendor outreach meeting with our purchasing team. And Francis Gomez is someone that you can meet with, and we'll walk you through the process of becoming a vendor and just give you some insight on one-on-one tips. So now it's time for Julie and Susan to share a little bit of their knowledge. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jose, and the entire team at Precinct 2. And they've got this program plus plenty of other programs, not only to help you and your business benefit by growing through opportunities with Harris County and Precinct 2, but also workforce development. So please take advantage of all of the opportunities that Precinct 2 has for you. So our session today, and this is one of many sessions that Jose talked to. We're going to have these every month. And really focusing on each and every one of you as a small business to grow. So today's session is focused on growing through subcontracting opportunities. We're going to set the foundation to ensure your success and go over things that'll save you time and avoid mistakes that can cost you the contract. We're only limited to 90 minutes, so we're not going to be able to cover everything that you need to know. And this is not a guarantee. With a contract with any government agency, we are sharing tips, tricks, and helpful ways to help you grow your business. So what you can expect from us, we want to have the best webinar experience together.
You know, you're not showing.
I'm not showing. Okay, so I didn't know that. And
That's what I was trying to get.
so host disabled participant screen sharing and recording. So Emily.
I don't know what is happening. We are having all kinds of,
Tico, by chance, if you can click on your three dots and make me host, B2G Victory speaker host, or B2G Victory chat host or Q&A, that would be awesome. The chat's also been disabled, yeah. All right.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry, Julie, what did you ask me to do?
If on your name, there's three dots. If you
Yes.
could click and say, make me host or make B2G Victory Q&A host.
Let's see. I'm not seeing that as an option.
It's like where you've got your name, maybe.
Mhm.
Yep. Emily is now the host. Perfect.
I think I've got it. And Julie, are you able to share your screen now?
No.
Okay. Hold on one second.
You want to pass the host over to me then?
That's what I am.
Okay. Thanks everyone for your patience. Apologize for this. So I'm going to just keep talking. So we're going to have an engaging session, right? Obviously. Tools for immediate implementation. We want you to leave today with things that you can incorporate into your business, not only today, tomorrow, Monday, next week, and next quarter. And with all of those tools, set you up for success for a victory plan. So you can be successful. I'm gonna keep going. Okay.
Julie, you should be able to share your screen now.
Yep. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. And we have the polls and all of that. Okay, great. And we're going to go ahead and start recording if we're not already. Okay. Perfect. Thanks everyone for your patience. So what you can expect from us, we kind of talked about that, and what we can expect from each and every one of you is we want you to listen and participate. We want you to test drive these ideas. Like Jose said, we're going to be back every month. And so we hope you can join us on the third Thursday of every month moving forward and give us your feedback. Let us know what you're looking for in regards to programming, what you've learned, share your successes with each other, because that's really, really important. We are all doing this together. So we've got our time together today with the actions and the things that you're going to learn and success. So we encourage you to break things down into 4 quadrants. And like Jose alluded to, sometimes this can be a little overwhelming. And our intent is to make this easy, digestible, and most importantly, a way that you can do this. You can win and you can grow your business through opportunities in Harris County, and specifically through opportunities with Precinct 2. And why are Susan and I qualified? Why did Tico and Jose reach out to us and say, hey, we would like for you to help us with this programming? Well, I'm a former woman business owner. I sold that business, and Susan and I started another business together. I grew my former business through government contracts. We averaged in the last 10 years of the business $1 million worth of revenue each year as a subcontractor. So I've been through it. I've made the mistakes, and we're here to share what worked and help you. I'm a proposal manager. We help companies win contracts. I've helped $4.5 billion worth of awards for clients. And just like the programming here today that you're on, I took advantage of lots of different programs for small businesses. And I can attest, and I've been all over the nation, that Houston and the commitment that Houston and Harris County and all of the various organizations have to small businesses, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and minority-owned businesses is like no other city in the US. So take advantage of the programs like this one. Take advantage of other programs because it does truly help you grow your business. And when I had that former business, Susan was with the WBEA, the Women's Business Enterprise Alliance. So 20 years ago, Susan actually certified the business that I had. So she's been advocating for small businesses and women and minority-owned businesses for over 20 years, and she's won a ton of awards through that. Supporting us, and we couldn't do half of what we do without her, is Emily Kelly, and she's our project manager. And her and Susan work together at the WBEA, and she's been involved in business development, client relations, incubators. So the three of us combined are B2G Victory, and we have a recent addition with Mark Craig, and Susan's going to drop all of our contact information in the chat. And so talking about celebrating those successes, Commissioner Garcia is truly dedicated. A lot of people say we support small businesses, but truly dedicated and committed. And in 2020, Precinct 2 paid $23 million. That's with the big M, $1 million to minority women and small disadvantaged vendors. So if you talk about a commitment, he is truly putting his money where his mouth is and supporting them on the greater good of inspiring a greater sense of community. So a little bit more about Precinct 2. And with this slide, think about where your business fits together and start thinking about the goods and services and products that you can offer to Precinct 2, maybe in terms of community centers, libraries, parks, right? Miles of trails, courthouse annexes, health centers, and there are 12 of the 22 school districts in the greater Houston area located in Precinct 2. And this is the map of where all of that magic happens. So if you live in Precinct 2, or if you have a business within Precinct 2, we definitely want to help support you and help you become either a prime contractor or a subcontractor with Precinct 2. So here's the team. And this wouldn't have happened if Tico wouldn't have reached out to us over a year ago and said, hey, let's talk about doing a program. And so Tico, Jose, Jeremy, Lindy, and Francis are all here to support you in your efforts of doing business with Precinct 2. So you've got this whole team that wants you to be successful. And so Harris County, other Harris County procurement services that are involved in Precinct 2, obviously the toll road, the flood district, and Harris Health System. So these are just some other examples of procurement services for the greater Harris County that are involved within Precinct 2. So how do you know about how to do business with Precinct 2? Where do I even start? Well, the platform to start with all of this is called Bonfire. And so each and every one of you is going to need to be registered in Bonfire. And if you come back and join us in August, we're going to go through that exact platform step by step by step. And Susan dropped the link to Harris County's Bonfire in the chat. And so any opportunity within any precinct that has to do with any Harris County service and division is going to be located on Bonfire. So let's take our first poll, and Emily's going to launch the poll and let us know if you are registered in Bonfire. So your option is yes for Harris County, yes for other agencies, but not Harris County. No, I know, no, I'm not registered, but I know what Bonfire is. And this is the first time I have even heard the word Bonfire in relations to government contracting. So we'll give you a few more seconds. Thank you, everyone, for engaging and participating in the poll. We really appreciate it.
I'm not seeing the results. So
All righty, we'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more seconds to participate in the poll. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and end it. So we had 33% say they are registered in Bonfire. 13% said yes, they're registered for other agencies, but not Harris County. So good to know right now. Now Bonfire, you can look for Harris County opportunities. 24% said no, but I know what Bonfire is, so you're somewhat aware. And 32% of you said, what is Bonfire? So we welcome, like I said, each and every one of you back in August, and we're going to go step by step through Bonfire. All righty, so stay tuned. And those are the results. Can everyone see them on their screen?
oh, they're gone.
Oh, they're gone. Okay.
Very cool.
All righty. Okay, so on Bonfire, you're going to have what are called formal opportunities. So these are procurement vehicles, whether that's an RFP or an RFQ for over $50,000, and informal bids for purchases are less than $50,000. And we'll go over that in a little bit more detail in August, but we wanted to kind of set the stage and start explaining some of these things. If some of you are new to purchasing, new to doing work with any government agency and government contracting. So why are you so important? Why, as a subcontractor, are you so critical to the success of Precinct 2 and the success of growing small women, minority, and disadvantaged businesses in Harris County? Well, Harris County Department of Economic Equity and Opportunity is a new division, and they have an aspirational goal of 30% of total spending. So that's every single one of your tax dollars that is spent in Harris County. They want to have small women, minority, and disadvantaged businesses under contract with those. So these are the different types of certifications in order for you to count that Harris County takes. So they take the TUCP, they take City of Houston's MWBE, they take the State of Texas and Hub, the State of Texas Hub, as well as the SBA 8A. And we're going to go a little bit more in detail about all of those certifications and how you upload them to Bonfire, because when you do your Bonfire registration, you need to make sure to indicate which certifications you have. So come back to us in August. So speaking of certifications, we'd like to kind of get you involved another time for our second poll within this section, and let us know what certifications you have. Do you have the State of Texas Hub, City of Houston, DBE, Metro, maybe the WBEA or WBENC? So that's through WeBank, right? Or your HMSDC, which is through the National Minority Supplier Diversity Council. Or maybe there's another certification that you have that we don't have listed here. Boy, I'm loving all of the engagement this morning.
I know. I couldn't keep up.
This is great. Everybody must have had a couple cups of coffee, or maybe like I have a couple of diet Cokes. Perfect. And what's really more exciting is as everyone's engaged, all of these different certifications. This is great. Hats off to y'all for getting these certifications. Alrighty, we'll give maybe 3, 2, 1 more second. Here we go. So we're going to end the poll, and I'm going to share these results. So really nice. So it seems to be almost equally split between State of Texas Hub and City of Houston certifications. 21% of you have the DBE, 33% have Metro, 9% have the WBEA, 6% have your HMSDC, and 22% have other. If you responded to other, those 15 of you, if you don't mind putting in the chat what those other certifications are, we greatly appreciate it. And now we're going to do our first shift and our first switch, and Susan's going to come and talk about the details and what exactly is subcontracting.
All right. Thank you everyone for dropping their information in the chat. This has been amazing. So that kind of keeps us going as well. So, we talk about how important a subcontractor is. So the basics. What is a subcontractor? And hold on. All right, let me switch. We're just having all kinds of unusual technical difficulties today. All right. So a subcontractor works underneath the prime. So they do not hold the contract with the government entity. They also do not have to worry about the reporting to the government entity. They have their scope of work. They complete their scope of work. They invoice the prime. The prime invoices the entity, and they provide all of the information. The prime gets paid, then the subcontractor gets paid. So it's sort of kind of the ebb and flow. So sort of the basic example is the general contractor. So the general contractor has a contract with Precinct 2, and they are going to be building a building. And so they need painting, sheetrock, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, all of those different trades. They're going to put that building together, and the general contractor is the project manager and oversees the entire project. All right, so we have a poll, and Julie's going to come start the poll because Susan's never done that before.
Got it.
Yeah, Emily starts out.
Oh, Emily's got the poll started. Thank you, Emily. All right. So we have you ever done business? All right. Yes, as a prime. Yes, as a subcontractor. No, but I'm interested. No, I don't know how. All right. So we have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Poll is ended. Here's our results. Maybe there's our results. All right.
We can see if they're on the screen.
All right. 10% have done work as a prime. 13% as a subcontractor. Ooh,
66%. 66% says no, but I'm interested. And 11% said no, I don't know how. So we're glad all of y'all are here, and we want the primes to continue to do business. The subs get more business. No, but not interested. We're glad you're here. And no, but I don't know how. We're glad you're here too. So everybody, whether you've done business with Harris County or not, will benefit from the content today.
And yes, and I am showing my age. I'm like, oh my goodness. All right. All right. Back to sort of keep in mind, okay, so the prime, the general contractor in our example earlier, they hold the contract. They are responsible for the overall project success. They manage all of the subcontractors that are going to be working on that project. They do the invoicing. They hold the insurance. If it needs to be bonded, they normally actually hold the bond. They may have the subcontractors have some smaller bonds, but the overall bond is going to be held by the prime. They do the project updating, the small business reports. So they're handling all of the compliance piece of it and submitting that to the government entity to ensure that they are meeting all of the requirements. The subcontractor does their work. Then they invoice the prime. Now they do have to carry insurance. They have to do a good job, and they have to be a team player. but they are not handling all of that other requirements. So the interesting thing is those checks cash the same way. All right, so does anyone have any questions? I see the chat is still going strong over there. That is so exciting. So drop your question in the chat and we will make sure that we get as many of those answered in the chat, and then we will have some time for some live questions at the end. So how do you find the work? So we've had a couple of people say, you know, I'm interested in being a subcontractor. So how do you find the work? Well, first off, you have to be prepared. All right, so poll time. And here comes Julie. I'll step back out of the way.
Go ahead, Emily, fire off the poll. Here we go. So our fourth poll is, have you ever attended a pre-bid meeting? Yes or no? And pre-bid meetings are great ways to get prepared for those of you who, you know, are interested in doing work with Precinct 2 or in a government agency. Maybe some of you as subcontractors haven't been to a pre-bid meeting. I didn't know the importance of a subcontractor until actually a prime that I was working with took me to one almost 20 years ago. So these are very valuable. And it looks like the majority of y'all have already been to a pre-bid meeting. So this is wonderful. And even T. Jackson in the chat said at the school district, we always encourage vendors to please attend. Absolutely. You learn so much from pre-bid meetings. So we're going to close out this poll in 3, 2, 1. All righty, and share the results. So this is so exciting and encouraging that 63% of y'all have been to a pre-bid meeting before. So those 37% of y'all who said no, well, let's go ahead and put that on your victory plan to look for an opportunity and attend a pre-bid meeting, maybe sometime in Q3 or in Q4.
All right. So as we're talking about how to find a prime, that is one of the best ways to find a prime to work with, is to attend those pre-bid meetings. You're going to have those prime contractors. You're going to hear more about the project. You're going to meet subcontractors. It is going to be a great way for you to actually get in front of those that you want to get in front of. Now, for 2 years, they were all virtual. And what we are seeing now is that more and more of them are face to face. But even if they're virtual, you still get great information from them. You still get to see who is playing in the sandbox that you want to play in. You see what primes are going after these projects, and you get the contact information for those that attended that pre-bid. Another one is industry and industry associations and organizations. So these are great ways to meet other people that are in your industry. That could be primes, it could be other subcontractors, it could be a mentor. There's a lot of great places in that. So for construction here in the Houston, we recommend NAMAC and Associated Builders and Contractors. And there's just some really, Houston has some really strong industry organizations. Do research. The great thing about government contracting, it's very transparent. With a little time, you can find out who's winning the business. And you can find out who you want to target. So if a prime has consistently won business with Harris County, you want to get your capability statement in front of them. You want to have a conversation. So maybe you find out what industry associations they're involved in. You make a point to be there and have that face-to-face. And of course, other subs are a great resource. If someone's already doing business as a subcontractor in Harris County, have a conversation with them. What are some primes that I need to be looking at? It doesn't have to be in the same industry as you, but they can give you some idea of what companies are winning business in Harris for Precinct 2. This is all potential opportunity. Potential opportunity equals money. So Harris County, we talked about research. Their department directory is on their website. It lists buyers. It lists information that you need to know. Go ahead and email them over your capability statement. Pick up the phone, leave them a message, send them a handwritten note. Find a way to get their attention. And Julie is dropping in that department directory link into the chat. All right, so we talked about pre-bids. So let's say you wanted to go to a pre-bid just to get an idea of what they're like. With Bonfire, if you go and you look at all of their bids, we'll let you know which ones have a pre-bid, whether it's mandatory or non-mandatory. But if you're a subcontractor, it's mandatory. You just need to be there. So there you have all of the information that you can find out when it is, where it is, virtual, in person, right there in the Bonfire listed on the bid. When you find a potential prime that you want to do business with at that meeting, call them. Let them know that you are interested. Make sure that you get them your information. All right, so here are some additional resources outside of Precinct 2. The state of Texas has a list on their website of all the hub coordinators. You want to do business with the state? Here is your list of people you can contact. All right, any additional questions? All right, so what is in a subcontractor package? What information they might request from you? So the really great thing about this is if you put everything in a folder on your computer, when you get that request, you can respond within 24 hours. You don't want to tell them, I can get that to you in a couple of weeks. They have a short window to respond. They want to vet your company because they're interested in doing business with you. So do you know where your W-9 is on your computer, your certificate of insurance, all your licenses, the actual soft copy of your certification? So if you got it in the mail, did you scan it, save it on your computer? Are you registered on that particular prime's website, if they have a website? Are you registered on Precinct 2's Bonfire? You want to make sure that if you are doing business with them, that you get that letter of intent. Do you have a firm profile? Do you have your capability statement? Do you have a resume that is not, I want a job with you? It is a resume. This is the projects that look like the project you're going after that we have done. And of course, past performance. The faster you can respond, the better. You don't want them having to chase you down for this information. You want to have it in one place that you can go get it. So here are some general contractors and where you go, because we talk about registering on their website. Here is Manhattan's request that where you can request a pre-qualification package. And Julie is dropping that link into the chat. So you can visit their plan room. It's all about Manhattan. You're doing your research on that prime. You're understanding what that prime needs. You're filling out that pre-qualification package. You're getting ready. Some more information on Manhattan. All of their upcoming bids, all of the projects that they're working on. on their website. Turner Construction. Here's where you fill out their subcontractor information. And make sure you're not just clicking on filling out the subcontractor information. You're actually studying that company and you're getting information of not only what current projects they have, past projects, and giving you an idea of what types of projects they're normally going to go after so that you're ready. Here's a subcontractor package, a very simple one for another company. And maybe you are going to be a prime. What are you going to request from your subcontractors? So here is a very simple form that is used for a client that is both a prime and a sub, depending on the opportunity. So we created a request form for the subcontractors so that we could get all of their information so that they could vet them. All right, here we have Harvey's subcontractors. They're linked to their page. And they have an 11-page subcontractor form. So having your information all together is going to make filling out these forms much faster. And we're going to give you some additional tips on that later, and actually a really cool tool. And here we go. Here is our subcontractor success tracking sheet. This is a magic spreadsheet that you're going to have access to after this webinar to download and start filling out your information. This is where you're going to put all of your information so that when you or one of your team members is filling out one of these subcontractor packages or filling out a vendor registration or filling out their bonfire, this is where they're going to go to get all your information. So we have general information on the first tab. We have information about your team. On the second, we've got the numbers where it's going to track your insurance information, your annual sales, your banking information. We have a reference tab, so you can start putting all your references in, and we'll talk about that a little later. All your certification, not only who you're certified with, your username, your password, when that certification expires, extremely important information. And where on your computer do you have that particular document stored? So this is a great, we actually create these for clients that we have so that we are able to quickly respond to things for them. There's all these tabs across the bottom. Trust me, you're going to love the spreadsheet. All right, any questions? All right, so let's talk about insurance and how to mitigate risk. All right, so your company needs to have the insurance that if you, especially if you're going after a prime contract, even as a subcontractor, you need to make sure that you mitigate the risk of that prime contractors. So in an RFP, it will often state that the subcontractors must have insurance and give those levels as well as the prime. So make sure you are reading the RFP so that you have the insurance needed so that you're not scrambling when that prime asks you for your insurance and you realize you don't have the coverage that is needed. So we always tell people you don't have to get the coverage until you're actually in that part of the discussion, but you need to have a conversation with your insurance agency about what insurance levels you may need in the future and what is it going to take to make sure that you have that capability of getting that. So general liability, automobile, your umbrella, your workers' comp, professional liability, or errors and omissions. Some people call it one, some people call it the other. And what we are seeing more and more in RFPs and RFQs, cyber liability. How are you going to protect our data that is on your computer? And not only cyber liability insurance, but what is your data plan? All right, and of course, bonding. All right, any questions before? Oh, I'm still on. Okay, any questions? Julie, are your fingers hurting over there?
Yeah, this is awesome.
This is amazing. I am seeing those. Woo, look at that go. All right.
Just real quick, we're getting a lot of questions for some of these links, and just want to remind everybody that when we're finished here, we will also be sending out a document with all these links as well. So if we somehow miss you, or you don't catch it the first time it comes around, you will get these in an email.
Actually, we are just going to post them in the folder on the website, and we'll give you a link to that folder, because we're going to have a lot of good information in that folder, not just these links. So, and that's going to make it easier for you. You don't have to dig through your email to find it. You'll have one link that you'll go to, and you're going to have some amazing tools and resources in that folder. Let's talk about references. All right, so you need references. Often when you're submitting a subcontractor package, the prime's going to want to call your references. If you're doing a capability statement, you're going to need references for that. If you are filling out a vendor registration, who have you done business with? So these references are extremely important. You need a minimum of 3 at all times. So how do you get them? Well, you have to kind of ask. So if you do multiple services, though, you need at least 3 in each category, or discipline, or service provided. So here's an example of a copier. Their clients are in the higher education, municipality, and nonprofit. So they need 3 references in each of those categories. A staffing firm does temp, executive, and seasonal. 3 references in each of those categories. So this is not a poll, but I am curious. How many of you could quickly name 3 references if a prime asks you? All right, if you don't have them, and you will see an RFP ask for a letter of reference, or if you want to get a testimonial for your website, you're going to really have to ask for these. You're going to have to request them. People don't normally send this out to all of their suppliers. So, who are you going to ask? Well, make sure you want to work for them again. Make sure they want to work for you, with you again. They want to hire you again. Did you leave the project and everybody was happy? Have you done multiple projects with them? Because that's always a good reference, because it shows that they are very happy. They've done multiple projects. It's just kind of like, make those judgments, narrow it down, and realize that your references are going to be updated. You do not want to have a reference that's stale. Like 10 years ago, I did work with such and such. That's 10 years ago. Lots has happened since 10 years ago. So when you're asking for references or asking for a testimonial, are you putting them on a capability statement, or if you are providing them to a prime, make sure that you're asking them to provide specific information. If you contact 20 clients and ask if you could provide a reference, if someone calls you, then they're all going to say they did a really good job. Let's get a little bit more specific than that. Can you, if somebody calls you from such and such prime, can you talk to them about how we stayed on budget? How we finished the project on time, even though Harris County flooded? How did we handle the communication to you on this specific project? Get really specific about what you want them to discuss. You also need to, if you're just putting them down, filling out a vendor profile, and you're just randomly picking clients, let them know someone from this entity may give you a call if you're providing information for a specific bid. They may call you between this date and this date, from the close date to the decision. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not always answering calls that I don't recognize the number. So let's say you're a subcontractor on one of those school district bids. So your reference gets a phone call from this particular school district, and they go, well, I don't have any kids in that school district. They must not be calling me. They must be calling they must have the wrong number, or it must be something that doesn't relate to me. But if they know that school district may be calling, they'll pick up the phone. All right, so another kind of tip that we're going to give you today: make sure that your LinkedIn is up to date. How many times have you met someone and gone to their LinkedIn and their card says they're with such and such, and their LinkedIn doesn't match? It doesn't even have that particular company listed. Take a few minutes to update your LinkedIn. Keep it updated. All right, any more questions? And Julie is going to, I've been throwing out the word capability statement for a while, so Julie's going to talk about a capability statement.
So let me come over here before I start talking. So a capability statement is a tool that you're going to use, and this is actually super relevant to the types of questions that have been kind of popping up and down in the chat about what are the tools that I need. We actually, on our website in the post seminar session, are posting a coupon for a capability statement, and so Susan's going to drop the link to that on our website. It's just b2gvictory.com/post session. She'll put that in the chat. And just like her and Emily said, all of these links are going to be available to you after the seminar. So this capability statement, what is this, or a capability statement, as some people call it? This is your one-page company resume. And so people in government spaces as well as in corporate spaces really use this tool. So when you're going and you're looking at that directory that Susan posted, and you're talking about formal and informal, when you are putting your information on the Primes database, and when you're putting that into your subcontractor qualification package, they're going to ask you for a capability statement. So we recommend you have this electronically as well as a printed physical copy for when you do go to those in-person pre-bid meetings, when you do go to the NAMEC events, when you meet with your buyer, when you go to the Precinct 2 website and you schedule your meet the buyer with them, you're going to want to have a capability statement. And also, I like to have it as well when you're having these interviews and when you're meeting with these primes, because it's a very helpful sales tool. Some of us aren't natural salespeople, so it really kind of helps you articulate things about your company, helps you stay on track. And it's that common tool that you and the person on the other end are looking at, that you can start that conversation and have it. So Emily's going to fire off this next poll. And we want to ask how many of you actually have a capability statement? And thanks again for everyone who has been so engaged, not only through our polls, but as well as the chat and the question and answer. This really makes the time together so much more effective and efficient. Most of you do, so that's great. We've got about 66 people answered. We'll go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll go ahead and end the poll. Thanks for all 70 of you that answered, and thank you, Emily, for sharing the results. So most of you did. 57% of you have a capability statement. 43% of you said no. So those of you who said yes, I challenge you to see, when was the last time that you looked at your capability statement? Are you happy with it? Maybe that's something that you put on your victory plan next week, right? We talked about these quick wins. Look at your capability statement. Is it succinct? And we're going to go through and show you some examples as well. And you know, when you look at your business plan every quarter, when you're working on your budget, you know, every year, maybe look at your capability statement as well and see what updates that it needs. All right, so let's talk about some capability statements and what all of these components are. All righty, we break our capability statements up into 5 distinct sections, and we felt that it was really important as we talk about these sections to show you examples of other small women and minority and disadvantaged businesses, so you can see maybe there's elements of one of these capability statements that you like, that you want to incorporate into yours, or maybe that there's some information or content that you see that is not on your capability statement. Already, contact information. This makes my hair almost go straight. We see capability statements all the time that don't have any contact information on there. And what I mean by a contact person, contact info is a person's name, an email address, and a phone number. Don't send people to a website. Don't make them work. Give them everything that they need for your company to do business right now, right? Your tax ID information, they're going to want to know that, your DUNS number, and any certifications. Going back to where we started, $23 million, y'all, $23 million Precinct 2 has put back into the pockets of women, minority, small, and disadvantaged businesses. I want every one of y'all from this call to get some of that money moving forward in 2022, 2023, 24, 25, and into perpetuity. So your certifications are so important. If you want to do business with Harris County, if you want to do business with Precinct 2, you need to have one of those certifications that they recognize. So maybe that's something that you put on your victory plan. You know, maybe you need to get City of Houston. Maybe you want to get 8A. Look at those. We'll put that in the information post seminar, so you know what are those certifications that Harris County accepts, because you want to leverage those and maximize them. Services. This goes back to a question that was in the chat about, well, how do I start this engagement with the prime contractor, right? Well, what do? Be succinct. Here's a great example of Dwight Wilson, and all of these capability statements that we're showing the team at B2G Victory did. So very quickly, I can see Dwight does engineering, consulting, project management, and he's interested in being a subcontractor. Then he goes into detail about his services. So these are the keywords. And along the right-hand side, he's got his NAICS codes and his NIGP code. So these are the numbers that correspond with those keywords. Because opportunities that you're going to find on Bonfire, all of the buyers that you're going to have conversations with, buy off of, these NAICS codes and these NIGP codes. In industries, I had a question in the chat, well, what happens if we've only done residential work? That's fine too, right? You've done maybe residential and commercial, and now you want into government. We've got a great success story of our good friend Greg with Honesty Construction. And in the last 2 years, Greg has successfully pivoted his business from residential work to government work through winning government contracts. So you can do it, right? Alrighty, so the next example that I want to show you is operations. So here's an example of David with One Day Came. So David has multiple locations for his business. He started in Florida and now he's growing his business here in Houston. So maybe if you're just here in Houston, maybe do you go all the way to Conroe? Do you all the way down to Galveston? Do you go over to College Station? Do you go all the way down, to Bay City, Baymont, all of that? So think about where you, your team, and your crew can successfully complete the work. If you don't have a crew in California, then don't put nationwide. And that's okay. Maybe you do bookkeeping and you can do bookkeeping nationwide. So really think about what your capability and your capacity is, right? All right. So that's in terms of your operations and where they are. But why you? Why do you want the government agency in Precinct 2 to do work for you? What is your value proposition? What do you provide better, different than your competition does, right? So you want to make sure that you articulate that. Susan already talked about references as well as insurance, but you want to put that on your capability statement. So experience, how do you translate experience in the similar scopes of work or what you've done in your past life before maybe you started your company? We got a question about that in the chat. My company's new, but I've been doing this for a long time, right? So make sure that you differentiate your experience, whether that's owner experience or client experience or company experience, right? So if you're talking about terms of company, those are going to be clients. If it's in terms of owner, you personally, maybe before you started your business, you want to make sure to articulate that this is the owner's past performance. All righty, and here's our good friend, Greg, and we've been working with Greg for 3 years now. So this was Greg's capability statement before when he came to us and he handed us his capability statement. And this is his current capability statement. And so we really leveraged on Greg's differentiators and his value proposition. So he's been in the construction industry for 22 years, right? His business has only been in business for 14. So once again, that's an example of leveraging you as the business owner, your expertise and experience in a specific field, right? He has 17 years of project management. So that means he was a project manager before he started Honesty Construction. But that's good. He's been doing this for a really, really long time. His EMR rating is 1. Maybe if you're in construction and you have a huge emphasis on safety and your EMR rating is lower than the industry rating, then go ahead and put that. And, in the theme with his value proposition and his emphasis on safety, he has had 0 lost time accidents. So we spent some time and said, what makes you different than the competition? What is going to matter to the evaluators, to the buyers when you send them over your capability statement for them to say, yep, Honesty Construction, your team and your crew, I want to do business with you. Alrighty, so in summary, a couple of things that you don't want to do, right, on a capability statement. Don't list a pending certification because that's just going to avoid confusion. Back to that letter of intent. If you sign a letter of intent with someone, a prime, then that means they usually want, your active certifications. And if you list something pending and that contract is awarded and you don't have that certification that you said you had, then they cannot legally use you. So don't put pending certifications on your capability statement. Also, when you're filling out your bonfire profile, don't list pending certifications. If you either have them or you don't. Don't feel obligated to put your home address on your capability statement. An email address and a phone number is sufficient. If you don't want somebody knocking on your front door, don't put your home address on your capability statement. We're getting older. We don't want to admit it, but we have these glasses. Font size, don't go any smaller than 10 points, right? Because once again, you want to make this easy for people to do business with you. If I'm having to strain and look really hard, that's going to make it a little bit harder. And then also, Susan talked about this, don't list references that you don't have permission to use. So make sure that you've contacted your references, make sure that they know that you're listing them on things. And I think, in closing in this section, just remember that you're not everything to everyone. You never want to start a conversation, whether that's virtually, in person, with a prime or a buyer at Precinct 2, when they say, well, what do you do? And you say, well, what do you need? That's a deal killer right there. Think about where you're making your money. Think about where your profit margins are. Think about where opportunities are within your industry, within the space here in Houston, within Precinct 2. Schedule that meet the buyer and ask them, right? And be very succinct about what you do, how you want to grow your business, and what you want to do work with in Precinct 2. So up on the post-session folder on our website, and Susan's going to drop that in there again, is this capability statement worksheet. So you've got your subcontractor success tool as well as your capability statement worksheet. And this worksheet really helps you organize all of those things that you're going to need to develop your capability statement. Once again, this is a worksheet to help you get the information. Do not send this, I think it's either 3 or 4 page worksheet to someone. This is not your capability statement. A capability statement should be 1 page. This is just the worksheet to help you collect and get all of the information that you're going to need together. So does anybody in the chat want to put 2 or 3 things that they liked or learned through the capability statement section? There were some other questions. Can businesses based on other states also bid? Yes, and that determines on what the agency is and what the scope of work is. So there might be some requirements depending on the scope of work that the prime and all of the subcontractors need to be local, but it depends. So one person said it should be 1 page. Another person said, glad we actually explained it in detail about what it is. So thank you. We hope that you take this, make sure to put it into your victory plan. Maybe going through your capability statement worksheet is something you're going to do next week or next month. So your firm profile. So now we're going to get into some more meat and potatoes of things in your subcontractor package that is going to support you as you're courting prime contractors, as you're working with buyers. And so these are bullet points from opportunities that you're going to see throughout, not only with Precinct 2, but through other government agencies. And these are the types of things that they're asking for. So if we go back to that one poll on, what role have you played? Have you been a prime? Or you been a subcontractor? Are you new to this? As you start developing your proposal library and you start putting everything in one central location, you're going to find that about 50% of this information you can use for multiple opportunities. Because if you want to do work with Metro, if you want to do work with Precinct 2, if you want to do work with Port Houston, which is located in Precinct 2, you're going to need this similar information. All righty. So here's just some more bullet points about how you need to describe your relevant experience that we talked about. Proposers shall identify clients represented in the last 2 years. Identify 3 clients with names, phone numbers of contact people, duration of tenure, those types of things. So these are all bullet points that they're going to be looking for when you describe your firm. And so we're going to show you some examples of kind of some firm profiles and company descriptions. And you're going to see that some of this overlaps from kind of the things that Susan was talking to you about in regards to references. So back to firm profile, back to that value proposition, and back to the why us, right? How do you and your firm and your team and your crew, how do you guys handle project management? How do you handle QA/QC? How do we handle communication? How do you handle construction administration? Do you do it or do you partner with somebody? Actually, there was a question, I think, in the Q&A that somebody asked, where do I go and find out about construction administration opportunities? How do you stay on budget? How do you bid, price, and estimate, and your schedule, right? So think about those things as you talk about your firm's methodology and your approach to projects, as well as just overall operations. And back to being a subcontractor and this super important role that you play. This is an example of a presentation that we did for a client for TxDOT. And as you can see, you've got the prime listed there and every single subcontractor's logo on there, because your experience as a subcontractor, your experience as the owner of a firm that is a small minority or disadvantaged business is important. And so we asked every member of the team how many TxDOT projects you've done, how many combined years, how many current contracts, and completed projects. And so when you see these numbers, you're like, wow, that's impressive. But we wouldn't have had those impressive numbers without each and every member of the team. And the same thing here, we leverage the licensed professionals capacity, right? This is the entire team. This includes the subcontractors, right? Because we want to be able to communicate capability, abilities, resources, and capacity, right? Here's some other examples of actual one-pagers from proposals that we've submitted under the firm profile, because sometimes your firm profile is limited to one page. The opportunity or bid will dictate that, or the prime contractor says, hey, subcontractor, I want to put you in my proposal. I need a one-page firm profile. Don't send them 6, don't send them 3, send them a one page. So you can see here that this company on the left, we listed their Texas County experience. Then we've got the by the numbers, their municipal experience, and their completed projects. And also on the right, this is a one-page list of their current clients. And think about, back to that value proposition, how much repeat work have you done with someone, right? Because if you've got repeat work, that means somebody was very pleased with you and they want to do business with you again. So what is your repeat work percentage rate, right? How many clients keep coming back to you? And this is not the time to be shy. This is the time to toot your own horn. This is because your mama's not right there next to you telling the buyer or the evaluator how great you are. You have got to be bold and toot your own horn and tell them how awesome you are. We are the best team for the project. You've got to connect those dots from going from residential to commercial or commercial to government contracting. There's no room to elude or let anybody make assumptions. If you're relying on them making assumptions, they can't evaluate you, whether that's a prime contractor or an agency. So here it is. Why are we the best team? Why should they choose you, right? This kind of is back to your why us, right? Your ability to take your program and move forward immediately. We have a track record of keeping projects on schedule and on budget with QA/QC. We're led by a responsive, ready team in Houston with national expertise that you and your project should demand, right? And Mary brought up a good point. A subcontractor can also be a trade partner. Alrighty, past performance. Susan's going to come back and talk about past performance.
Right. So how do you show your past performance? So what are some ways that you can get their attention when you're submitting your SOQ? So some of the past performance, some people call it projects, case studies, past performance, fact sheets, sales sheets, one-sheeters, because this is information that is not only going to be needed as you submit as a subcontractor, as a prime, but maybe as you're going out and you're trying to market to these primes. It's all about your relevant experience. What work have you done that matches the RFP that you want to be a subcontractor on? Play hippo to hippo. Does it work? Does it match? We don't want to submit a project that has nothing to do with the scope of work. So what is the scope of work? You need to make sure that if a prime contacts you about a potential subcontractor opportunity, that you request the RFP or you go find the RFP so that you can see the scope of services. What part of that scope does that prime want you to do so that you can provide them the relevant information? But what other work can you do that the prime may not know that you do? So make sure you're reading the entire scope. Read the whole RFP. All right. What are the hot buttons? What is important to the client? So if you're putting together a project sheet, maybe you're going to really focus on that work that specific items that they're looking for. So you can actually have little check boxes on your project sheets that said, this project was met this requirement. Connect the dots. This project, they wanted it to have P3 experience. They wanted it to have part of the correction industry, redevelopment, community. Not every project is going to have every single thing, but when the prime puts all of the projects together, they will have each one of those hot buttons checked at least once with their projects that they. Here is one that has we've taken the evaluation criteria. This is what you're evaluating us. This project meets these. Challenges and solutions. Not every project, most projects do not go 100% smoothly. There are some issues. Right now, supply chain issues is a big challenge for companies. We are also in the middle of hurricane season, and that can provide some challenges. Houston's been known to flood a few times. All right, so what were your challenges and how did you provide a solution? Again, more and more, we're seeing these government entities ask for this information. And even if they don't ask for it, if you show them that you overcame these challenges, still came in under budget, on time. So kind of keep track of that. You don't want to respond if it's requested and just say, all of our projects have gone 100% smoothly. Because no, they haven't. All right, so there's how we kind of pulled out that challenge and solution. If you're putting in plans, we have to shrink them down really small. And again, our eyes are a little bit older, so make sure that you actually put what's on that plan. Kind of pull it out, let them know what's there. And for those of you that are in the Houston area, this is the TxDOT building at 290 and the Beltway. All right. In that magic folder that Julie is once again going to drop the link to the post-session information, we have two different project sheets for you. We have one that is more text heavy for those projects that may not have a lot of visuals. And then we have one that has a lot of space for graphics. So you will have access for those that you can kind of lay out some of your projects and start playing around with those. All right. Woo, we've had a lot of questions. So we're going to keep going because we're running out of time here. Let's talk about resumes. This is not, I want a job at this prime or this government entity, and I'm going to be an employee. This is my resume that shows that I have the relevant experience to be on this team. So I'm going to introduce you to my friend, Joe. Joe is the vice president and principal at the firm that he works for. On a project, he can hold many different titles. He can be the project manager. He can be the civil engineer. He could just be the principal over kind of, over everything. So what is his role on the project. So Joe's resumes look pretty much the same, except for some changes. So his project role is going to change. We're going to keep his industry years updated, as well as his years in the company. His areas of expertise is usually the same and maybe reordered slightly. But what mostly changes is the relevant experience. He needs to list projects that match the RFP. This is work that I have done that matches. This particular resume was submitted for a City of Longview. City of Longview wants to know what City of Longview work you have done. This is Joe, who does, he's going after a road project. What work have you done that is on roads? So because it was civil and roads, we have his TxDOT pre-certifications. And then we have additional information on the project, because based on the RFP, they requested that the resume have a description of the project. So to be compliant, we have that short description of the project. All right, so in your magic folder on the website are all the great tools that you need to kind of start putting together your resume, your project-based resume. We are helping you build your proposal and subcontractor library and package. All right, so you may want to download that again, play around with it, because you're going to make some changes, but this is going to give you the basic information. All right, questions. All right, Julie is going to talk about those subcontractor agreements as we are getting close to the end here.
Yeah, we're wrapping up, and I know we've already said it, but thank y'all for the engagement in the chat. Thank y'all for the questions and answers. This hour and a half has really flown by, and a lot of that is because of each and every one of you. And so we've talked a lot about all of these things that you need, and here's the tools and the templates, but now we're getting, as my favorite uncle says, down to brass tacks, right? An agreement, right? So how are we going to move forward together? And we want to do work with the primer, we want to do work with an agency. So what does that agreement look like? How do we solidify that we're going to work together? And most importantly, assures work and sets the expectation. And you should read the subcontractor agreement, because any agreement or any contract, what that does, the intent is to protect you and them from unfair risk, right? And so we want to make sure that it is beneficial for everyone. And I can say that when I got my first subcontracting opportunity, I was so excited that I didn't even sign anything because I was just excited, right? Well, then that went and turned into me meeting that prime contractor in an HEB parking lot on Sundays to get cashier's checks. Then when January came around for the previous year, that prime contractor 1099'd me personally and not my company. And it was just a hot mess. And I was so excited, but I would, if I would have stopped, took a deep breath, and either had an agreement or read an agreement, things would have been very, very different. So I know it is exciting. I've been there. I've made the mistake. So don't make some of the same mistakes that I made 20 years ago, right? And an agreement is to make sure that it's fair for everyone, the contractor and the subcontractor, right? So repeat after me. I'm not going to ask everybody to take their microphones off, but we're going to do this together. Repeat after me. So we're going to use the honor code. Repeat after me. I will not enter into any verbal agreements. I'll do that again. I will not enter into any verbal agreements. Awesome. Thank you for virtually raising your hand, some of you. It just protects everyone, right? So what do those different types of agreements look like? And there was a question earlier in the chat about what is this letter of intent? And it can be super basic, right? And so what are the elements of a letter of intent? It has the project name, the project number or the RFP number, the estimated bid amount, the estimated goal, who the prime is, who the sub is, what is the scope of work? Am I going to paint? Am I going to do construction administration? Am I going to do engineering? Am I going to provide supplies? Am I going to do outreach like what we do? And what certifications and a signature? An agreement is not an agreement until there's both signatures. And thank you, a few of you, for putting in the chat that I will not enter in any verbal agreements. Absolutely. So when somebody says, yes, we want you to be a part of your team, say, okay, great. Do you want me to send you the letter of intent, or do you have one that you want me to sign? This is business. We are business people. We do business together. How do we manage expectations in business? It's through an agreement. And that agreement starts with the letter of intent. All right, a few other things. Whoever you want to do business with, whether it's a prime or an agency, request a sample of their subcontractor agreement. Start reading over it. Be proactive, because there are going to be some things, guess what, that you can't change. So don't even worry about spending $500,000, $600,000 or whatever on an attorney. Be proactive. And I think what's most importantly is understand the agreement, understand the things that can change, and understand the things that can't be. So you're going in with your eyes wide open. If you're going to get paid in 30 days, or if you're going to be paid in 60 days, or whatever the payment agreements are, then don't call them every other Friday. Don't call them every Tuesday. The subcontractor agreement will outline all of that, right? So know all of those parts and components. When things go wrong or you have a question, your subcontractor agreement is the place to go for clarifications and next steps, right? So it's kind of like a prenup, right? Before you get married, you look at the prenup. What am I getting into? How am I protecting myself if things go wrong, right? So your subcontractor agreement might have multiple pages or whatever. So here's just an example of the types of things that are typical in a subcontractor agreement, right? It could be 2 pages, it could be 9 pages, it could be 20 pages, right? So it just depends. But here in summary, as we conclude, are the five things you must know before you go into a subcontractor agreement, right? So if you read nothing else, which I hope you read all of it, but nothing else, you've got to know the scope of work. What am I doing? What am I being hired to perform, right? Second thing, and this has also come up in the chat, right? What are my insurance requirements? What are my bonding? And what are the liens? And Mark had put in the chat, you know, most people don't require a subcontractor to have a performance bond if the work is under $1 million. But make sure to ask. If you don't know, don't assume, ask. What types of warranties are you expected on your work? Especially with some of us, if we purchase things, right? What is the manufacturer's warranty? If we're providing, you know, labor, what is the warranty on the work that labor did, right? You got to think about these things. Arbitration. And nobody likes to think about this or talk about it, but you've got to. Once again, you've got to go in with your eyes wide open, because not every project is perfect. Not every relationship is perfect. So protect yourself and understand, if things go south, what does that look like? And protecting yourself, your company, and mitigating risk from the beginning. And I already touched on this a little bit, and we'll go a little more into detail into this in a subsequent session in a couple months about contractual payments and how do you mitigate risk within your company when you do work in 1 month, but you're not getting paid for multiple months later. All righty. And then you need to make sure that everyone is very clear on the scope of services, roles, and responsibility, right? So we talked about the scope. We talked about that in the letter of intent. We also talked about that in your subcontractor agreement. Well, where do I go to figure out what the scope is? What am I doing, right? I call it, you know, toes, roles, and rules, right? So here, if you go back to the RFP or an RFQ, this is a great place to start. Be as detailed and specific as you can be in regards to the scope. And so these are 2 examples from SOQs and RFPs that say exactly what the scope is, right? So that's where you go. And sometimes it's not always clean and on one page. It may start on one page and go over to the next. All right, we're going to be wrapping up. Like Emily said, we're coming to the end. So closing thoughts, we want to make sure that we've given you the tools and the information to grow your business through subcontracting opportunities. It's important to understand exactly what you're going to be doing as a subcontractor, and most importantly, make sure that you understand that agreement. So we hope that everybody enjoyed our time together today and that you have lots of actions, and your actions are organized within your victory plan. What am I going to do next week? Maybe those are your Monday morning moments. Those are the 3 or 4 things that you learned today that you can implement immediately. And if you don't mind, if you want to put maybe those in the chat, what are those 2 to 3 things that you've learned that might spark something with somebody else, right? Because we want to be here to support each other. So go ahead and put in the chat maybe those 1 or 2 things that you're going to implement immediately. The rest of the things, be realistic and space them out. Maybe it's next quarter, the following quarter, or even, some of these things might just be a next year thing, but that's okay, because the difference between a dream and a goal is a plan, and you have a plan, and your plan has started today with our time and our session together. So I'm going to hand it back over to Jose to kind of do some closing thoughts if he would like. All right, well, we're waiting for Jose to unmute and get online. Keep learning and keep growing, right? So we have our next session is August 18th with Precinct 2, understanding Precinct 2 procurement. Like we said, we're going to go through all of that in granular detail. But if you want to join us earlier that week, maybe on August 16th at 10 o'clock, Port Houston, we're doing a risk mitigation session. And like I said, Port Houston is located in Precinct 2. And then if you're interested in doing work with Fort Bend Independent School District, they're wrapping up their $800 million bond program and probably going to be going after another one. So we'll be there as well. Emily's going to drop our contact information in the chat as well. We continue the conversation on all of our social media. We're constantly posting videos to our YouTube channel. We've got full-length sessions. That's where this session is going to be posted. And we've also got some shorts, and we'll pass this back to Jose. Are you there, Jose or Tico, if y'all want to have any closing thoughts? There's Jose.
Yeah, Julie, Susan, Emily, thank you so much for the presentation. I think that everybody really did get a lot of information that they can put to use immediately, specifically the statement of capability and how to present themselves. And so we really do appreciate it. We do welcome you guys back on the 3rd Thursday of every month with a new topic in hand. And we really do hope that you'll continue to join us and learn how to do business with the county. We really do appreciate it. The Commissioner Garcia really encourages you to be involved and just learn as much as you can about how to work with the county. And we're here to help in any way that we can.
We're going to be here for 2 more minutes. Emily, if you don't mind dropping in the chat the last link for people to do to go ahead and schedule the Meet the Buyer session with Precinct 2. That's the 2nd Friday of each month, and the website's super easy. Or if you want to grab your phone, you can put it up to the screen. It'll take you straight there as well. Go ahead, grab a time. But I want to caution you, make sure that you have your capability statement ready. Go ahead and schedule your meeting, but make sure that it's going to be ready when you have the meeting. Oh, Rudy, how do you get a mug? We have merch. We do. We're official. We have merch. We only have a limited number of them, but make sure that put your contact information in the chat and we'll get a mug over to you. That's so sweet and so very kind. Other questions that you'd like for us to answer? A couple of people want a mug. Well, maybe that might be a revenue line for us is merch. Thanks, everyone. We really hope that all of y'all join us maybe on August 16th. That's in person for Port Houston risk mitigation, but we want you to join us the third Tuesday of every month with the Precinct 2's third Thursday of every month. So we'll see you on August 18th if we don't see you on social media or in our inbox before then. Have a great day, be healthy, be safe, and take care of each other.